Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm doing my recommendations and TBR for my August monthly priority, which is African authors. If you're not familiar with my monthly priorities, I have a video and a playlist about them below, but basically today I'm going to recommend a couple of books that I have read in the past year by African authors that I loved, and then talk about my TBR for August where I want to read even more. So first, my recommendations, beginning with Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, who is a Nigerian Igbo and Tamil author. This is a YA sort of fantasy that is taking place in this futuristic society where all of the monsters, everything evil in the world has been gotten rid of. It's a utopian society. And our main character, Jam, one day comes across Pet, who is a painting that her mother did that came to life. And Pet tells her that actually there are monsters in this town, in this utopian, and they have to go and find that monster. And so this book is just beautifully written. It is really lyrical. It is filled with so much imagery. I loved all of the different characters and the representations and the family dynamics and the friendships and the way that this really had some very, very strong messages about a lot of interesting societal topics. I loved this book and I definitely recommend it. Next, I'd like to recommend We Need New Names by Novile Bulawayo, who is a Zimbabwean author. This is sort of a contemporary historical literary fiction. It is about a little girl growing up in Zimbabwe in sort of the slums after a big financial collapse kind of ruined her family's finances. And the first half of the story is her just daily living in the slums. And she's very young and has a very strong young child narrator voice. It is really beautifully written. You feel like you're in the head of a 10-year-old. And you see the world through her eyes. You see all of these very difficult things that are happening around her, but through a child's gaze, somebody who's just interested in playing. The second half of the book, she actually goes to stay with her aunt and uncle in the US, and as a young teenager is trying to adapt to life. And so it's very much an immigrant story as well. This was just fantastically written. I loved the narration style. I loved so many of the ways it talked about stuff like the kinds of issues that people living in poverty in Zimbabwe face, and the kinds of aid that are given by foreigners, and the kinds of opportunity that living abroad represents, but also that way that it tears you apart from your home culture. I loved this book, and I do have a standalone review for it, so I will link that below. And lastly, I'd like to recommend What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky by Leslie Nneka Arima, who is a Nigerian author. This is a collection of short stories which are sort of literary, very dark, and have a number of speculative elements. This collection is absolutely fantastic, especially in the way that it examines a lot of the way that women are treated, and again, a lot of issues of sort of the immigrant experience. This collection for me was, every single story was a 5-star, which is very, very hard to do. I have a standalone review for this, so I will link that below, but I really highly recommend this. Now moving on to my TBR. These are the books that I would like to prioritize for August. And for August, I will try to pick up as many of these as I can, but I probably won't get to all of them. Also, I will probably pick up other books that are by African authors not on this list, and I will read tons of other things as well. This list is really just to help me prioritize what I put a hold on at the library and what I try to make time for. First on my list is Rosewater by Tade Thompson, who is a Nigerian-British author. This is a book that I am going to be buddy reading with Kristen at Kristinell SFF Reader, who I will link below. And I have been wanting to read this for such a long time. I'm pretty sure that this has been on past TBRs as well, but I want to get to it. This is a science fiction novel set in Nigeria, in Lagos, and it is where these aliens come and set up kind of these domes where they are inside of them, sort of isolated from humans, but every once in a while, if humans come up to the domes, there will be some kind of spillover of their technology or something that can help people, but also sometimes hurt them. And it sounds like this might be a murder mystery. I'm not really sure, but it just sounds really interesting. I've heard good things about it, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Next is Dominion, an anthology of speculative fiction from Africa and the African diaspora. So this is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a collection of stories by African authors and African diasporic authors, and I have been really interested in reading this. I first heard about this from Justin at Ghost Reader, who I will link below, and since then I've been really wanting to find time. I love reading anthologies of short stories and especially speculative fiction ones, so I hope that a bunch of these will be really good. I'm pretty sure one of them made the Nebula shortlist, something like that, so I definitely want to see what stories in this work for me. Next is The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi, who is a Nigerian Igbo and Tamil author. This is a family drama, and it revolves around a family kind of dealing with the death of their son and remembering his life. This sounds really interesting. I loved, as I said before, Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, and I've heard really good things, so I'm looking forward to it. Next is Behold the Dreamers by Mbolo Mbue, who is a Cameroonian American author. This is a literary contemporary fiction that is about a Cameroonian family who moves to the US right before the financial collapse of 2008. And I think that this is going to be really interesting. I've heard that it's very good, and it really talks about the ideas of the American dream and sort of the issues there. And I love immigrant stories, and I love stories that tackle really important social issues, so I'm very much looking forward to this one. Next is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, who is a Ghanaian American author. This is a book that I have heard so many people rave about. Everybody says that it is fantastic, and it is exactly the sort of thing that I like. It is a historical fiction that covers about 300 years of history following a pair of sisters from Ghana who one of them ends up being sold into slavery and the other one stays back in Ghana, and it follows kind of their descendants, so it's a generational saga. I love everything that I've heard about this, and I am so excited to read it. I love historical fiction, especially set in time periods or in places that I haven't read a lot of historical fiction in, so I am super excited about this one. Another historical fiction multi-generational saga that I am really looking forward to is Chintu by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi, who is a Ugandan author. So this is a multi-generational saga that is set in, I think, the 1700s and then kind of goes through past that, following a family where there is a curse and following that across the generations. So again, this is one that I've heard so many good things about from so many different people, and I love historical fiction, I love multi-generational sagas, so I'm very much looking forward to it. And lastly is one more historical fiction, Nervous Conditions by Tsitsi Dangarembga, who is a Zimbabwean author. This is set in the 1960s in Zimbabwe and is a coming-of-age story of a girl, and also really a discussion of the effects of colonialism. I've heard great things about this. Laura at Book Bubbler, who I will link below, has said that this is an absolutely excellent book, and so I'm just really looking forward to more historical fiction. Okay, so those are all of my recommendations and my TBR for August when I'm focusing on African authors. If you guys have read any of these books, if you have any thoughts on what I for sure must get to because it's just so good, if you have any recommendations for me of anything else that you think I would like to read, anything at all, just leave me a comment down below.